The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I recorded this video and then I got interrupted in the middle of recording it. So now I'm recording it again. So second take won't be better than the first take, but what the hell. By the way, thank you. There has been a lot of messages expressing concern that the channel is winding down. So let me say this. First of all, it's going to be a while before it winds down. I thought it was actually more imminent. But as it turns out, I produce more content than is humanly reasonable. So as it stands right now, no joking, I'm looking at 114 videos that are been recorded and just need to be posted. 114. So I'm continuing to record. So this might be a while. So maybe I need to back away from the channel is winding down because I mean, it's winding down, but shit, it's going to be a long time. So you're going to be okay. What is part of winding down is I have no interest in going after clickbait bullshit, and I'm not trying to fight the algorithm. I don't give a shit what happens with kind of various scandals and other things. Some of the videos are going to be late. It is what it is. If 20 people watch it or 5,000 people watch it, it's fine. Or 50,000, whatever. It's fine. I'm not here for hits. It's clear. Like every single part of my action is clear. So, it is what it is. But let me get to this video because it's an actually really good topic. So I'm going to read this mail. It's a longish mail. And the person is a badass who gave me some logos that I will have to use at some point if I do not forget. And so if I do forget, my apologies to letter writer. Your work is great. I just want to express that. Thank you very much. It looks great. It's also possible I'm traveling around the world. Look, I've done I think 250,000 air miles this year. And if you don't fly a lot, you might like, I don't know what that means. If you go from New York to Japan, that's about 10 to 12,000 miles round trip. I've done 250,000 this year. So, do the math. So I do forget things. Sorry about that. I'm your friendly neighborhood jackass who travels everywhere. What's weird is I travel a bunch of places. I have very few beers with people. I had an amazing night of debauchery with somebody who listens to the channel over in Zurich, Switzerland. So thank you very much. That was a great ass time. I will remember that I'll remember that till I die, to be honest. That was an amazing time. And hopefully I can have more with more of you. But let's get to this mail. It says, hey, Perch. A common topic in comics is the 90s. It's a decade that's described as the worst era in comics, but is it really? Full disclosure, I grew up on comics in the 90s, and I have a lot of fond memories from that era. I'm also the first to admit there was a lot of damage done that continues to this day. Okay. That's a very well-structured paragraph that sums up the issues of the 90s. The 90s brought in a lot of readers, and it also did a lot of damage to the industry simultaneously. It was a very interesting time. But let's get to this mail. So I grew up in Queens, New York, and in 1992, there were 12 comic shops within a 5-mile radius of me. By 1997, that number was half. Over the years, a few more closed, a couple more opened, and by the time I left New York City in 2022, that number was 0. I'm going to pause there for a second. That in and of itself is a powerful statement. I live in the Los Angeles area now, where the owner of my current LCS has been in business since 1993. And he's told me he's struggling more now than he did in the late 90s. On a side note, there's an Arby's over here on Sunset Boulevard. People say it's haunted. I'll let you insert the joke here. It's haunted because people die there because it's Arby's and the feed sucks. And that's not a joke. It's a fact. Okay. We continue. It says, what irritates me is the same people who shit on the 90s seem to have no problem with the current business model of variance upon variance. They revisit 90s concepts, use 90s sales gimmicks, 90s cash grabs, 90s brand new number ones. They're just missing 90s sales figures. And I don't mean 92. I'm talking about 1997 when supposedly the industry was collapsing and comics were dying. I think Marvel and DC, and retailers for that matter, would be doing cartwheels if they could have new comic sales from 1997 today. People always mention how quickly readership plummeted in the 90s, but they don't talk about how many readers we've slowly lost over the last 20 years, really last 6 years. Yet people still claim comics are doing better than ever. People who depend on comics to make their living. Why do they do this? Is it ignorance or is it denial? It's denial. And it's a fear that if you say comics are doing bad, you're going to get blacklisted. And in fairness, that is a legitimate fear that people will punish you for. But let me kind of state this unequivocally. Comic shops, if you ask them today, would you like the sales of 1997 or the sales of 2023? They would all take 1997, except the ones who can't do math. Everyone else would take 97. It is fundamentally worse for comic shops today than it was in 97. And I have had this argument with lots of people, including people who run Comics Beat. It is absolutely worse for comic shops. It's an important disclaimer, because if you want to say, hey, for comics in particular, for comics, in aggregate, with trades and stuff we do with Amazon and variant covers and whales and other kind of stuff we do, you could make an argument in the other direction. I think it would still be faulty in terms of revenue, because the problem is the two biggest players in the industry are funded by Warner and Disney, and so the math is just different for them now. The two biggest players on their own, it was a different beast. At least how DC used to be structured, and certainly how Marvel wasn't owned by Disney at the time. So, at any rate, if you were a retail direct market comic shop, your business was better in 97 than it is in 2023. It absolutely is. Now, wait a minute, you might say. I talked to Midtown, and Midtown says their business is doing better. Well, of course it is, because what happened is there were, 40 comic shops in the area, and now there's one. The one is doing better because 39 have closed. But that's not an indication of comics as a whole. By the way, feel free to shit on us all you want, but math is still math. Math hasn't changed. By the way, I'm gonna express some real irritation at some of my viewers here real quick. Please, go to school and figure out what communism and socialism means. Don't come at me when I post a video and I talk about, hey, if they paid more money in comics, it would attract better people. And don't come in like a fucking idiot and talk about how, oh, that's socialism. You're a moron. If you think that these people are posting things like, well, we buy comics, therefore that means we own the companies. No, you do not. That's not how it works. You buy hamburgers from McDonald's. You do not own McDonald's. If McDonald's produces shitty hamburgers, you stop buying it. That's called capitalism, my friend. That is not socialism. That is capitalism. I got so many mails of people, and I haven't seen it yet, but I guarantee you some dumb mouth breather fuck did a live stream reaction video, and who is dumb as shit. And by the way, all of your friends say you're stupid behind your back, and you are. You're a fucking moron. You absolutely are. You're sub Rich Johnson level of stupid. You dumb fuck. But anyway, maybe I missed the live stream and everybody knows this, so it just gets me into deeper trouble. But my God, this guy is an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. And everybody says you're an idiot. And I've seen several mails of you being an idiot. You're an idiot, you dumb asshole. And you have fewer subs than the guy doing, videos in his car. So fuck off. Anyway, sorry. I just said, please stop sending me mail educating me on what socialism is. You have no fucking clue what socialism is. A comic company producing comics and then raising the salary of the people who produce comics in the hopes of attracting better talent so they have better work. That is called capitalism. That is the very definition of capitalism. That is not socialism. God damn it. You dumbasses. All right, sorry, go back to the mail. I apologize for that segue, but fuck. All right. You were a retailer in the 90s and recently. What parallels do you see between then and now? Was there a similar attitude of everything is fine, nothing to see here that we hear today? No. In fact, I'll pause here for a second. No, I mean, the one big difference, and it's a bad big difference, is that in the 90s, more people were like, holy shit, things are bad. And they admitted it, and it was out there. And in 2023, a lot of the volumes are worse, but there's become this attitude of if we say it's bad, we're going to get punished. And for those of you comic professionals who are in the market, I don't need to tell Sean Murphy this, he knows this, but others, sorry for calling you out by name, but other people who are in comics, we've talked about this, it's true. There's become more of a stigma against ever saying anything is wrong. And that is not helpful to comics. It's not helpful. You need to be able to admit when things are wrong. There's things that are off track. Not if you listen to, some other YouTubers, like everything is fucked everywhere. Not that bad, but there's definitely problems. Comic volumes, there's more volume produced and less sales than 97 when the whole thing was blowing up. That's a problem. It's a problem. Notice when I say that statement, I didn't say, the problem. What we need to do is get fewer women writing comics. Nobody's saying that. Or not nobody. I'm not saying it. That's not the problem, but goddamn it, the finances aren't there. If you love comics, this should concern you. And it is weird that in 97, more people were like, holy shit, things are bad than today. And they're worse. They are worse. Anyway, back to the mail. And do you think we're in another bubble on the verge of bursting? 100% I do. To me, the comic industry feels a lot more fragile now than it did in the 90s. And almost every retailer would tell you the same. Again, I'm not suggesting we rewrite history and portray the 90s as this glorious era. That's good, because it wasn't. But here's the funny thing. When things are down, like I imagine this, right? You're in the Great Depression. Okay? You're having to like scrap food together to live, right? You're starving. You don't look at that time period and go, man, I wish that, I wish we were in the dark ages because that was better. Like you don't take a bad situation and look for something that is as bad or worse or marginally better. You try and go for as good as it can be. That's what you should do. That was a terrible analogy, but hopefully you get it. Anyway, I'm not suggesting to portray the 90s as this glory era because it wasn't. But seeing what's happening now, I think it's time to amend the history books and stop this narrative that the late 90s was a dump. Compared to 92, it was. But when you compare it to today, if only things could be that good again. So here's a suggestion. You don't need to rewrite history that 1997 was amazing. What you need to do is stop pretending that 2023 is better. Just, here's a bit of advice for all of you, no matter where you are. And many of you, you may have white-collar jobs, you're doing your thing. This is really good advice, I promise. If you're ever having to go do a presentation in front of management or the boss or CEO or whatever it is, here's one thing that every single CEO and high-level manager hates, but they don't tell you. Don't go in there and go, hey, let me explain to you why the past sucked, or why what I did was there's reasons. Everything was shitty, but let me explain to you why I had good reasons for doing that shitty thing back in the past. Nobody wants to hear it. And for whatever reason, whenever people go in front of a CEO, they always feel like they got to justify the fucked up things that happened. The CEO doesn't want to hear any of that shit. The CEO wants to hear what you're going to do in the future. And I promise you, with whatever manager, whoever you have, if you go in and you start saying things like, hey, you know what? We made some mistakes. It's these three things. I'm not going to try and justify why we did those things, but let me tell you what we're going to do. This is what's going to happen over the next 6 months, 12 months, 4 years, whatever business you're into. The more time you spend on the future versus the past, the better you're going to be. And that is always what you should do. And every single boss, manager, CEO, executive That's what they want. They will reward you. They will promote you. If you spend all your time talking about why the past was the past, you're going to get fucked. Maybe not immediately, but in the long run, you will. Executives look to the future. They don't look to the past. But anyway, feel free to ignore that advice. All right, we're going to wrap this mail up. It says, hopefully you read this before you end your channel. I started listening earlier this year. I hope the videos will still be up, as there are so many I haven't gotten to yet. They've been entertaining and informative. I think you're too modest to admit you provided a great service. Shit. Thank you, man. As a thank you, I provided my services to you. I'm a graphic designer, so I created a logo for your apartment. I hope will entice you to resume the channel one day. If not, keep it as a reminder of that what you did meant something. It did to me, at least. Thanks for reading. I wish you and your family... Oh, fuck, man. I wish you and your family the best, and I appreciate you. Take care. Jesus. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm genuinely touched. Look, this channel has been a passion project. It's hit during a bunch of very weird moments in my life, some of which I've talked about publicly, most of which I have not. I'm lucky to have a really loyal wife and a wonderful, 2 daughters who you've heard. Many of you anyway. And this has been my family as we've kind of navigated this crazy world of comic shops and consulting work and COVID and travel around the world and everything else. But for all of you, and I mean this, for those of you who listen to this channel, thank you. Thank you for your time. I hope this means something to you. It's been good talking to you in this one-sided conversation. I'm older. No, I'm not 50 yet, you fucking assholes. But, being able to do a channel and talk to some of you and get this kind of attention, it's amazing. Thank you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. If I could spend the last years of my life traveling to each and every one of you, buying you all a beer or whatever you want to drink, I would do it. Means the world to me. Thanks for listening.